We're announcing one of the largest transformations in the global automotive business.
Ford CEO Jim Farley just revealed the return of the Ford Ranchero, and the significance of that moment reaches far beyond a single nameplate coming back into the spotlight. This is not merely a nostalgic gesture designed to stir memories of an old badge with a loyal following. It is a move that touches the deepest parts of Ford identity, the changing shape of the American vehicle market, and the growing tension between utility, image, tradition, and innovation. The Ranchero has always occupied a very unusual place in automotive history because it never fit cleanly into one box. It was part pickup, part passenger car, part working machine, and part statement piece. For that reason alone, its return under Farley immediately feels bigger than a simple product announcement. It feels like the reopening of an idea that never really disappeared. Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more exclusive news. The event itself carries an unmistakable charge because Jim Farley is not the kind of executive whose words drift by unnoticed. When the head of Ford puts a vehicle like the Ranchero back into discussion, it suggests a level of confidence in both the market and the symbolic power of the model. The reveal lands with force because the Ranchero represents one of the most distinctive concepts Ford ever produced. It was always a vehicle that challenged the expected boundaries between style and function. By bringing it back into public view, Farley is effectively saying that the time may once again be right for a vehicle that refuses to behave like the rest of the segment. That alone makes the reveal feel bold, because modern automaking usually favors safer categories with predictable demand. Part of what makes the moment so compelling is the way the Ranchero name instantly activates decades of automotive memory. The original Ranchero stood apart because it embodied a kind of practical flair that few vehicles could match. It was not a heavy-duty work truck in the traditional sense, and it did not try to be. It offered utility in a more personal, expressive form. Owners could use it for daily errands, light hauling, leisure activities, and weekend tasks, while still enjoying a vehicle that looked sharper and lower than a conventional pickup. That old formula is exactly why the reveal matters so much now. The market has become crowded with trucks that are bigger, taller, more aggressive, and more expensive. The return of the Ranchero points in a different direction, one that values versatility without the need for excess. Farley revealing the Ranchero also carries weight because Ford has spent years refining its image around toughness, heritage, and broad appeal. Vehicles like the F-Series, Bronco, and Mustang each serve a symbolic role within the company. They are more than products, they are pillars of the brand story. The Ranchero has the potential to become another pillar because it connects multiple strands of Ford history at once. It touches the company's long relationship with trucks, its legacy of approachable performance, and its ability to create vehicles that feel rooted in everyday American life. The event, therefore, does not come across as random. It feels like the reactivation of a dormant branch of Ford character, one that can still speak to a market searching for something practical yet distinctive. There is also a deeper cultural layer to the reveal that makes it especially interesting. The Ranchero has always been one of those vehicles that people remember not just for what it did, but for what it represented. It symbolized a period when car makers were more willing to experiment with format and identity. It belonged to an era when a vehicle could be useful without becoming oversized, and when design had enough freedom to produce something playful, clean, and unconventional. Farley bringing that name back into the present suggests that Ford sees renewed value in that philosophy. In a landscape where many new vehicles can blur together in shape and purpose, the Ranchero name instantly cuts through the noise. It promises a machine with character before anyone even studies the details. The event matters because it raises a fundamental question about what customers actually want now. For years, the dominant assumption has been that buyers moving toward utility will inevitably choose crossovers, large pickups, or increasingly rugged-looking vehicles. The Ranchero challenges that assumption. Its return suggests that Ford may believe there is meaningful demand for something more compact, more stylish, and more urban-friendly, while still preserving genuine cargo usefulness. That is a striking implication. It means the company may be betting that not everyone who needs open bed practicality wants the size, height, and road presence of a traditional truck. It hints at a more nuanced reading of the modern buyer, especially someone who values flexibility but does not want to commit to the cultural baggage or expense of a full pickup. That is where the reveal becomes more than a nostalgic headline. It becomes a strategic signal. If the Ranchero is returning, then Ford is acknowledging a space in the market that has been underserved for a long time. There has always been a gap between passenger cars and pickups, but most manufacturers have treated that gap as too narrow or too uncertain to pursue seriously. The Ranchero says otherwise. It suggests that there is room for a vehicle that provides cargo convenience, easy drivability, a potentially lower entry cost, and a less intimidating footprint. The implications of that are substantial because it touches on affordability, accessibility, and practicality all at once. In a market where many vehicles have become too large or too expensive for ordinary buyers, a Ranchero-type model could feel refreshingly direct. Farley revealing the return of the Ranchero also sends a message about confidence in platform creativity. One of the most intriguing aspects of a modern Ranchero is not just the badge, but the engineering philosophy behind it. The original formula depended on blending the comfort and road manners of a car with the usefulness of a pickup bed. Translating that idea into the present would mean taking a modern platform and rethinking how utility can be packaged. That matters because it reflects a willingness to challenge standard product templates. Most companies today work within rigid categories because the economics are clearer. A Ranchero requires more imagination. The event therefore suggests that Ford sees value in breaking format at a time when many rivals prefer to refine familiar recipes rather than invent new hybrids of form and function. There is an emotional force to the reveal as well, and that should not be underestimated. The Ranchero name stirs up a specific kind of automotive affection because it belongs to a class of vehicles that people often describe with warmth rather than pure technical respect. It is remembered as clever, charming, and unapologetically different. Farley tapping into that memory does more than excite longtime enthusiasts. It creates an emotional bridge between generations. Older fans recognize the legacy. Younger audiences, many of whom have never experienced a true car-based utility coupe in the mainstream, can encounter it as something fresh rather than old-fashioned. That combination is powerful. A name that carries heritage but still feels novel in the current market has enormous storytelling potential, and the event itself draws strength from that rare balance. Another major implication lies in how the Ranchero could alter the conversation around lifestyle vehicles. For years, lifestyle branding has often meant giving crossovers and trucks tougher styling, more adventure-oriented accessories, and a broader image of capability. The Ranchero offers a different vision. It naturally combines work, leisure, and style without needing to pretend to be an off-road machine or an extreme utility tool. The return of such a vehicle suggests Ford may be leaning toward a more grounded understanding of how people actually use their vehicles. Many drivers do not need to tow massive loads or climb over rocks. They need something that handles daily life with ease while still allowing for home improvement runs, bikes, gear, gardening supplies, or weekend projects. The Ranchero name speaks directly to that reality. That practicality becomes even more meaningful when considered alongside urban and suburban driving conditions. A traditional full-size truck can be useful, but it can also be cumbersome. Parking, maneuvering, fuel costs, visibility, and general ease of use can all become points of friction for ordinary owners. A Ranchero-style return implies a vehicle shaped around a more manageable footprint and a friendlier everyday experience. That is not a minor point. It could make utility more available to buyers who have long admired the idea of a truck but resisted the downsides of living with one. Farley revealing the Ranchero therefore hints at a democratization of utility, where capability is made less imposing and more integrated into normal life rather than framed as something oversized and specialized. The design implications are equally fascinating. Few names in Ford history invite design imagination the way Ranchero does. The original model worked because it looked intentional. It was not a compromised sedan with a bed awkwardly attached. At its best, it had a clean sense of proportion and a personality that felt self-assured. The return of the Ranchero under Farley immediately raises the possibility that Ford is prepared to embrace a silhouette unlike almost anything else on the road. That matters because design distinctiveness has become increasingly valuable in a market flooded with similar proportions. If Ford delivers a modern Ranchero with visual confidence, the event may come to represent a broader push toward recognizable, memorable shapes again. The vehicle could become a statement against sameness. Brand architecture is another key part of the significance. Ford has been especially deliberate about how it uses legacy names. The company understands that heritage can be an asset, but only when deployed with purpose. Farley revealing the Ranchero indicates that Ford believes the name still has meaning strong enough to justify revival. That is important because some old badges return only as decorative exercises, with little connection to what made them memorable. The Ranchero presents a different challenge. Its meaning is tied directly to its format. That makes the return inherently more demanding and, in many ways, more honest. If Ford uses the name, it has to deliver a vehicle that captures the spirit of utility mixed with style and accessibility. The event is significant because it implies that Ford is willing to accept that challenge publicly. The reveal also touches on the long-running relationship between trucks and identity in America. Trucks are not merely practical tools, they are loaded with symbolism involving independence, labor, strength, and self-reliance. The Ranchero occupies a curious position within that tradition because it participates in truck culture while remaining lighter, lower, and more car-like. It softens the image without removing the usefulness. Farley bringing it back into the conversation suggests that Ford sees an opening for a vehicle that can engage with truck identity in a less conventional way. That is a meaningful shift because it acknowledges that the culture of utility vehicles is not monolithic. There is room for a product that appeals to buyers who want some of the freedom and functionality of a truck without embracing the full visual or financial scale of one. Another implication is how the Ranchero could reshape expectations for entry-level utility. For many buyers, there has been a frustrating gap between affordable transportation and useful transportation. Sedans may offer value, but they lack cargo flexibility. Trucks offer capability, but they can quickly become expensive. Crossovers land somewhere in between, yet they often sacrifice the simplicity of an open bed. The return of the Ranchero suggests Ford may be interested in addressing that problem directly. If positioned correctly, it could represent an answer to a question many consumers have been asking for years: whether there can be a vehicle that is honest, adaptable, and not burdened by unnecessary bulk or luxury inflation. The event gains power because it hints at a philosophy of usefulness that feels more grounded and more attainable. Farley announcing the Ranchero also revives a debate about categories themselves. The modern automotive market tends to define products by strict labels, because those labels make planning and marketing easier. A vehicle is expected to belong clearly to one segment. The Ranchero disrupts that logic. It is not fully a car and not fully a truck, which is precisely why it attracts so much interest. It forces people to think about vehicles in terms of actual life patterns rather than inherited categories. That conceptual disruption is one of the biggest implications of the reveal. Ford is not simply reviving an old model, it is potentially reintroducing a challenge to the way the industry organizes desirability and function. In that sense, the event has intellectual energy. It invites a rethinking of what a useful vehicle is allowed to be. The Ranchero name also carries style implications that go beyond sheet metal. It evokes a certain attitude that feels relaxed, practical, and slightly rebellious. It does not try too hard to be luxurious or macho. Instead, it suggests confidence through originality. That mood matters in the current climate because many consumers are exhausted by over-designed products that insist on projecting aggression or prestige. A Ranchero return under Farley can be read as an attempt to restore a more easygoing form of automotive appeal, one where usefulness and personality coexist naturally. The event is exciting partly because it hints at a vehicle that could feel more human, more approachable, and more honest than many of the highly sculpted, highly marketed machines currently chasing attention. There is also the matter of heritage continuity inside Ford itself. The company has a long history of shaping the way Americans move, work, and identify with their vehicles. Reviving the Ranchero does not just celebrate one old model, it reconnects Ford with a period of experimentation when the company was willing to create products that occupied unexpected niches. That has implications for how Ford wants to be perceived now. Farley revealing the Ranchero suggests a company that does not want to be seen purely as a caretaker of established success. It wants to be viewed as a brand capable of finding new relevance in old ideas. That blend of tradition and reinvention is central to Ford mythology, and the Ranchero is one of the clearest possible symbols for it. The timing of such a reveal also feels significant in relation to shifting consumer fatigue. A growing number of buyers have become accustomed to vehicles that promise everything and therefore stand for very little. Many are designed to offend no one, which often means they inspire no one. The Ranchero, by contrast, has always had a point of view. Its appeal begins with the fact that it does not resemble the average vehicle choice. Farley bringing it back suggests Ford understands the value of conviction. The event implies that distinctiveness is once again worth pursuing, even if it means taking on some risk. That is an important implication because it suggests a move away from pure consensus products and toward vehicles that can create their own lane through identity and usefulness. From a market perspective, the return of the Ranchero raises the possibility of a new kind of competition. Not all rivalry in the auto industry happens through direct segment combat. Sometimes the most disruptive product is the one that creates a comparison nobody expected to make. A modern Ranchero would not merely compete with small trucks, compact crossovers, or entry-level cars one by one. It would force buyers to reconsider all of them together. That is powerful. It means the reveal has the potential to shift consumer thinking before the vehicle even arrives. Farley announcing it plants the idea that the familiar options may not be the only sensible ones. Once that seed is planted, Ford gains a psychological advantage by defining the conversation on new terms rather than following the existing language of the market. The event also throws a spotlight on proportion and purpose. In recent years, the average size of many vehicles has expanded to a point where practicality often comes bundled with unnecessary scale. The Ranchero inherently argues for right sizing. It suggests that usefulness does not have to be oversized to be real. That implication matters on a practical level, but it also matters symbolically. A smaller, lower, more agile utility vehicle can represent a rejection of excess without sacrificing capability altogether. Farley revealing the Ranchero makes that possibility visible again. It tells the market that Ford may be willing to serve people who want something efficient in spirit as well as function. That is not a fringe idea. It may be one of the most relevant ideas in the current automotive landscape. Another reason the reveal feels important is because the Ranchero bridges emotional and rational appeal unusually well. Many heritage revivals lean heavily on emotion, but struggle to justify themselves in practical terms. Other utility-focused vehicles may make practical sense but fail to inspire. The Ranchero sits in a rare middle ground. Its historical identity already contains both romance and logic. It is memorable because it was useful in an unconventional way. Farley bringing it back therefore taps into two forms of desire at once. People can respond to the name emotionally while also immediately understanding the practical promise it carries. That is a rare strength, and it is one of the reasons the event seems larger than a standard product tease. It resonates with both memory and need. The reveal also suggests something about Ford faith in storytelling. Great automotive moments often depend not only on the machine itself, but on the narrative surrounding it. The Ranchero has a narrative that is instantly legible. It is the return of a boundary breaker, a format mixer, a vehicle that lives between categories and turns that ambiguity into strength. Farley choosing to reveal it indicates that Ford recognizes the power of that story in a crowded market. The implications extend beyond one model because it shows the company leaning into a more character-driven approach to product identity. That matters in an era when many launches struggle to explain why a new vehicle should exist at all. The Ranchero has a built-in answer. It exists because it solves a real problem while doing so with a unique voice. It is also worth noting how the Ranchero speaks to the emotional idea of freedom in a more everyday form. Traditional trucks often project freedom through images of heavy labor or rugged terrain. The Ranchero offers a subtler version. Its freedom lies in flexibility. It lets a driver carry tools one day, furniture the next, and recreation gear after that, all without turning ordinary life into a negotiation with a massive vehicle. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Ford Ranchero making a comeback? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.